Hey everybody, it is 12 noon on a Monday, and we are going to have our daily devotionals right now. My name is Aaron. I am a pastor on staff at First Christian Church. If you are joining us this morning, or this afternoon, awesome to have you. Thanks for watching. This is week 4, Monday. Again, today we're going to be walking through Nehemiah chapter 5, verses 14 through 16. So let's just dive right in. What does it say? If you have your devotional bookmark, you can follow along on these questions here. So what does the passage say? Basically, King Artaxerxes has been in power for a while. It says from the 20th year. And so way back when Nehemiah was put in place to restore Jerusalem by King Artaxerxes, so they knew each other. At this time, it says that Nehemiah had been given the position of governor over the land of Judah. So Nehemiah had a position of power, and what the passage says is that Nehemiah did not abuse the position that he had. Moreover, earlier on in chapter 5, it says that Nehemiah he restored the people at Jerusalem. He restored the Jewish people as well. He didn't take advantage of his power, but rather he used his power and his position to leverage and help those in need. Moreover, and I think it's best summed up in verse 19 of chapter 5, it says, "Remember me with favor, my God, for all I have done for these people." So I think what this passage is talking about is how Nehemiah did not abuse the position that he had, but rather he leveraged it for the good of the people that he was over. So what does this mean? So like I said, earlier on in chapter 5, Nehemiah had the opportunity to right conflict within the Jewish people. So some people were lording their position over others. They were calling people's debts out. They were causing poverty to just kind of be a continuing issue among the Jewish people. So what Nehemiah did was he called those people, those debtors, to the floor. He said, "Hey, look, you guys can't do this. Like this, we are one people. Like we are in this together." And so, in order to be fully restored as the people of God, you can't call these people on their debt. You can't overcharge them. You need to stop charging interest on the debts that they owe you, and you need to give them back their property. And so, what did they do? They gave it back. They said, "And we will not demand anything more from them. We will do as you, Nehemiah, say." Nehemiah rights these wrongs within the Jewish community, but then in the passage today and then beyond, Nehemiah also rights the wrongs that the government had put in place. So it says in verses 17 and following, "Furthermore, 150 Jews and officials ate at my table, as well as those who came to us from surrounding nations." And each day all of these supplies were given to Nehemiah that he could use for himself, but rather, instead of causing to lording it over the people or from taking more and more from them, Nehemiah used the things that he was given to give back to the people. As opposed to the other governors who in the past had taken just more and more from the people. So Nehemiah also rights the wrongs of the government. And so I think, again, to sum it up in verse 19, Nehemiah provides restoration to the community's dignity. He didn't just rebuild the walls around the city, but he also took care of the people's needs within his community. He didn't just make it look pretty, but he restored the inner workings of the community. So the last question: how will I respond? How do we put feet to the passage today? I'm reminded instantly of, when I was reading this, of Mark chapter 10, starting at verse 42 and following. Jesus is talking to his disciples here in the New Testament. He says, "You know that those who were regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord their power over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. But not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many." So when I read about like what Nehemiah is doing here in chapter 5, I just see him not abusing his position of power, but rather using it as a leverage point to be of benefit to people. So for yourself, maybe you, at your job, you are in a position of authority. Maybe you're the boss. Maybe you're a manager. Maybe you work over a small team, like you have some say or some sway, or you're given more privileges or responsibilities than the other people. I think the fact is like power is a privilege, and what you do with that, what you do with what you're given, is more important than like even having that position of power. It's not like being in a position, but it's what you do instead out of that position that matters more. So authority is allowed by God. Nehemiah had this position of power and authority, but he didn't leverage it for his own benefit. He used it as something that he could benefit the community and help those in need. So if you are maybe you're a head honcho or you have a lot of power, like that's something that you can use to benefit those around you or to help people around you, because your relationship with God is not limited to a Sunday morning or just being here at church on Sunday, but it affects even your workplace. That's why we've been in the habit of saying at the end of all of our worship services, now go be the church where you live, work, and play. Whatever position of authority you find yourself in, like you still have this responsibility to be changed from the inside out and allow for your position to be of benefit to others, and to be a reflection of God in your community and in your family and even in your workplace. There's no exceptions there. I look at verse 15b when I see this being played out in contrast to what Nehemiah did. Their assistants, these government assistants, also lorded it over the people, but out of reverence for God, Nehemiah did not act like that. So I just think that the big issue here is that power is a privilege, and what you do with that, your power and your position should be changed by your relationship with God. So take that with you this week. Take that with you today. Let your relationship with God change you from the inside out in a lot of the different regards that you find yourself in life. That's it for me. I think that's good. If you want, you can join us on Sunday mornings at 9:15 and 10:45 at our Champaign location, 3601 South Staley Road in Champaign, and at Lincoln Square Mall in Urbana for our Urbana location. We have worship services. It'd be awesome to see you there. And with that, my name's Aaron. Thanks for joining us today. Have a good one.